These days the word Sigma gets thrown around a lot. Everyone wants to be one, or at least be seen as one. The term has become popular, but it's often misunderstood. Being a Sigma male isn't about wearing a label or following a trend. It's about how you think, how you move, and how you live, especially when no one's watching. A true Sigma doesn't need to announce who he is. He's not loud. He doesn't try to impress others. He's defined by quiet actions, solid values, and a deep connection to his own path. Most people won't even notice him right away. But if you pay attention, the signs are there. You might not call yourself a Sigma. You may not even like the label. But if you find yourself doing certain things, consistently and naturally, it might mean you've been living this way all along. The traits that define a Sigma male aren't loud or dramatic. They show up in your choices, your habits, and your mindset. This video isn't about giving you a title. It's about helping you recognize the way you move through the world. If you do the things we're about to talk about, not because someone told you to, but because they feel right to you, then chances are you're already on the Sigma path. Let's look at 6 specific things Sigma males tend to do. They may seem simple on the surface, but together they reveal a mindset that runs deep. If you recognize these traits in yourself, it might not mean you're trying to be Sigma. It might just mean you already are. Thing number 1. You prefer solitude over crowds. You don't hate people. You're not rude or cold. But being in large groups drains you. Small talk feels fake. Busy rooms make you want to leave early. And given the choice between a loud party and time alone, you almost always choose solitude. If this sounds familiar, you're not antisocial. You're wired differently. Solitude isn't something you avoid, it's something you seek. It's where you feel most clear, most balanced, and most free. For a Sigma male, being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being fully in control of your time, your space, and your thoughts. This isn't just about recharging. It's also about growth. You use time alone to think, create, study, or simply enjoy peace. While others need constant connection to feel alive, you come alive in silence. You're comfortable in your own head, and that's rare. People might not understand it. They might pressure you to get out more or be more social, but you know your limits. You know that too much time around others can make you feel off balance. So you protect your solitude, even if others don't get it. This doesn't mean you avoid relationships. In fact, you probably value deep, honest connections more than most. But you're not going to fake interest just to fit in. You'd rather have a few solid people than a crowd of surface-level friendships. You don't need to be seen or heard all the time. You're not interested in being the life of the party. You're interested in being at peace. And solitude gives you that. That's why this trait shows up so often in Sigma males. It's not about avoiding the world. It's about choosing where and how to engage with it. Thing number 2. You operate quietly and let results speak. You don't walk into a room trying to impress anyone. You don't list off your accomplishments, and you don't compete for attention. Instead, you work quietly, stay consistent, and let your results do all the talking. This way of moving through life is different from what most people expect. Society rewards the loud, the flashy, and the constant self-promoters. But you've never felt drawn to that. In fact, it probably turns you off. You don't need to be in the spotlight. You just need to stay focused. This shows up in your work, your goals, and even your daily habits. While others talk about what they're going to do, you're already doing it. You don't post every step. You don't announce your moves. You just make them, and by the time people notice, the work is already done. You may have been overlooked at times. That's normal when you don't shout your worth. But when people finally see what you've built, they're usually surprised. You've been putting in the time, staying quiet, and delivering results without needing validation. This trait comes from a deeper mindset. You believe in building, not bragging. You believe in substance over style. You'd rather be respected for what you've done than praised for what you say you'll do. And when people finally recognize your work, it's because it speaks for itself. You don't move in silence because you're hiding. You move that way because it keeps you sharp, keeps you calm, and keeps you in control. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just focused on what matters. That's why this trait is a strong sign you're already walking the Sigma path, even if you've never called it that before. Thing number 3. You live by your own rules, not others' expectations. Most people shape their lives around what others expect. They follow rules they didn't write, chasing goals they didn't choose, and often living someone else's idea of success. If you're a Sigma male, that never worked for you. Deep down, you've always known that you needed to do things your own way. You're not reckless, and you're not against structure, but you question everything. You don't accept traditions just because they're old. You don't follow trends just because they're popular. You ask, does this fit me? If it doesn't, you walk your own path, even if it means walking alone. You've probably made choices that confused people. Maybe you left a job that looked perfect on paper. Maybe you turned down opportunities that others would jump at. You didn't do it to be difficult. You did it because something didn't feel right. You were choosing your values over their approval. This mindset shows up in small ways too. You dress how you want, even if it's not the trend. You think for yourself, even if it's unpopular. You don't chase praise, and you don't need constant reassurance. When you make decisions, you make them based on what matters to you, not what will make you fit in. Living this way isn't always easy. People might call you stubborn or distant. But that's because most people are uncomfortable around someone who can't be controlled by pressure. You're not rebelling for the sake of it. You're simply not interested in a life that isn't yours. This way of thinking makes you reliable in the right situations. People know that if you say yes, you mean it. And if you say no, it's final. You don't play games and you don't fake anything. You just stay true to yourself. That's not normal in a world built on image, but it's exactly what makes you stand out. Thing number 4. You avoid ego games and status battles. Some people spend their whole lives trying to be the best at something, not because they love it, but because they want to feel superior. They chase titles, compete for attention, and measure their worth by how many people follow them or admire them. Sigma males don't play that game. You're not interested in proving anything to anyone. You don't need to be at the top of some invisible ladder. You'd rather be free at the edge than trapped at the center. You're not impressed by titles, flashy lifestyles, or constant recognition. You care about being competent, not being crowned. This is what sets you apart from alpha or beta personalities. You're not leading for power, and you're not following for approval. You're simply moving at your own pace, focused on your own growth. If others notice, fine. If not, that's fine too. Your value isn't based on what they see, it's based on what you know. You avoid arguments over pride. You don't need to win every debate. You don't chase validation from people who don't matter. When someone tries to pull you into a status competition, you step back. You know that energy could be spent building something real. This doesn't mean you lack confidence. It means your confidence is quiet. It's built on skill, experience, and time. You know who you are and what you're capable of, and that makes you hard to shake. Avoiding ego games also gives you freedom. You're not trapped trying to impress others. You're not stuck proving your worth. You're just living it. That freedom is rare, and it's one of the clearest signs that you're not like most people. You're not chasing attention. You're building something that doesn't need it. Thing number 5, you listen more than you speak. In most conversations, people are just waiting for their turn to talk. They speak quickly, interrupt often, and rush to share their opinion. But if you're a Sigma male, your approach is completely different. You observe. You wait. You listen, really listen. This isn't because you're shy. It's because you value what's being said. You want to understand, not just respond. And when you finally do speak, your words have weight. People notice, not because you're loud, but because you've been quiet for a reason. This habit shows up everywhere, at work, in friendships, in everyday moments. You study people. You watch how they move, how they react, what they really mean underneath the words. You don't assume. You collect data. And this gives you an edge. While others miss the deeper message, you catch it. While others speak out of impulse, you speak from thought. Your words aren't just noise, they're sharp, focused, and clear. This way of listening also builds trust. People feel heard around you. They know you're not waiting to one-up them or talk over them. You're giving them space to be real, and that's rare. It also protects your energy. By staying quiet, you avoid useless drama. You don't get pulled into gossip or emotional chaos. You keep your peace by choosing when and how to engage. That choice is part of your strength. In a world full of loud voices, the one who listens becomes the one people respect. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're trying to be wise. And wisdom doesn't shout. It waits, watches, and speaks only when it's worth saying. That's what makes this trait one of the clearest signs of the Sigma mindset. Thing number 6, you protect your energy and say no freely. You don't say yes just to keep people happy. You don't go along with things that drain you. And you're not afraid to turn something down if it doesn't fit your priorities. If you find yourself setting boundaries and walking away from things that others might tolerate, that's a clear sign you're operating like a Sigma. Protecting your energy isn't about being cold. It's about being aware. You know that time, attention, and mental focus are limited. Once they're gone, you can't get them back. That's why you don't give them away carelessly. You say no, not because you're avoiding life, but because you value it. This shows up in relationships, work, and even daily decisions. You're not afraid to skip the event, decline the project, or let go of people who no longer align with your values. You don't make excuses. You just make choices. And those choices are guided by what keeps you focused, balanced, and in control. Other people might see this as selfish, but that's only because they're used to being around people who overextend themselves. You're not interested in stretching yourself thin to meet everyone else's needs. You're interested in living a life that makes sense for you. This mindset gives you power. It means you're not easily pulled off course. You don't get caught in guilt trips or peer pressure. You know what matters to you, and you're not afraid to protect it. Over time, this approach builds a stronger life. You spend more time on what works, less time on what doesn't. You surround yourself with people who respect your space, not drain it. You create a life that reflects your values instead of reacting to everyone else's demands. In a world where most people say yes to everything and end up burned out, your ability to say no is rare. And it's one of the clearest signs that you've stepped into a different way of living. A way that respects your limits, your goals, and your peace. Being a Sigma male isn't about acting mysterious or rejecting society just to be different. It's about living with purpose. It's about making choices that protect your mind, your time, and your peace. And it shows up not in what you say, but in what you do. If you prefer solitude over crowds, operate quietly and let results speak. Live by your own rules, avoid status games, listen more than you speak, and protect your energy with clear boundaries. You're not following a trend. You're showing the signs of someone who lives like a Sigma. You don't need to chase attention. You don't need to prove your worth. You're already building a life that reflects it. That quiet strength, that steady discipline, that independence, that's what makes you different. Many people want to wear the title, but they aren't willing to live the life. The truth is, Sigma isn't something you call yourself. It's something you reveal through how you move every single day. If these traits feel familiar, you're probably not trying to be Sigma. You already are. And the more you lean into these habits, the stronger that mindset becomes. Keep doing what works. Keep walking your path. And remember, being a Sigma doesn't mean being alone. It means being real. And in a world full of noise, that's one of the most powerful things a man can be.